Who here builds websites in there? Like free time or work, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so you want people to use it, right? And how do people find your website? Well, probably through search engines of their choice. And this is why SEO is not completely useless, but actually something that you need to consider. We'll talk a little bit more about that today. So first things first, I actually want to clarify what SEO is, because a lot of people, when I ask them, especially developers, I'm a web developer, you're a web developer, or at least some sort of developer or designer or whatever you are, it's cool that you're here today. But when I ask about SEOs, then they're like, oh, these are these people that are like sacrificing chickens and like read the tea leaves to figure out how we need to change our website. And that's not quite true. So we're going to discuss that. Then we're going to look into like building a single page application, a very simple one. And then we're going to like work through how we can make sure that people are actually finding our content and like what are the tips and tricks. And I only have a limited amount of time. And I'm trying to like at least entertain you a little bit so that you're like getting the energy up for today. And so I have actually some links and resources if you want to dig deeper, and you should. It's also very nice to use these resources to send to SEOs who are like telling you bullshit, because then you can say like, actually, Google says ... Normally makes them shut up if they're telling you crap. Anyway, so what is SEO? SEO, as I said, is like usually seen as something really confusing and weird and voodoo-y and magical, or actually like dark arts or dark magic rather than the good kind of magic. And I'd like to clarify that. And SEO is a tricky one because it's such a broad thing. It's like software development, right? If someone asks you what you do, you say like, I'm a software developer. Some people might then just basically take away, they do stuff with computers. So it's like, can you fix my printer? That's not really what's happening. And SEO has a similar problem, that it is a very, very broad thing. And it starts with the most important thing, your content. So SEOs should figure out what are people looking for, what is the problem that your stuff is, or your product or your service is solving, and how can you give people the information they need to make a decision, hopefully in your favor. They also want to work with your business stakeholders to figure out the strategy. So what is it that we're trying to accomplish? Is it trying to like establish a new market? Is it trying to beat a competitor? What is it that we're trying to do here? Now, both of these things are important, but they are not something that we are concerned of as developers, right? However, there's also the technology side of things. That's also SEO. You want to monitor the site. You want to make sure that the decisions made by product owners, developers, designers, testers are actually reflecting the real world situation. And they want to also monitor that nothing bad happens over time, because search engines might take some time until they catch up with updates on your technology side. And this is cool because we know technology, and I know that we have so many things that we have to deal with, right? It's like, okay, it has to be responsive, but it should be like mobile first, and it should be very fast, and it should be secure, and it's like a bazillion, it should be engaging, it should be a PWA, no, it should be offline first, no, it should be performance first, no, it should be content first. And then you're like, great, look at that, it's everything first, which means nothing first. So SEOs can be a very, very valuable ally in this, right? They can help you deal with some stuff that you would have to deal with, and they usually know better than you do, so that's like kind of nice because you don't have to learn more stuff, even more stuff on top of all the things that you need to learn anyways. So they can be your technology ally, and they can also be, because they are already in touch with business people and they know how to speak to these business people, they can be your ally. Who here works in a company where they think performance could be better? As in like your web performance is not great. Who here thinks that they can totally convince management tomorrow? Well, not tomorrow, Sunday, on Monday. Yeah. So one person is very optimistic. I have bad news for you. Anyway, so the thing is, SEOs talking to these people can then basically say like, look, here's a business case for performance. Here's why performance matters. Performance is one of the many ranking factors. So if you are in a good book with your SEOs, if they like you, they might actually be able to help you get the decisions done that you need to be done to actually work on the right thing. So be nice to your SEOs. But why do I say content and strategy? Because I want to like highlight that content really, really is important, and it's the most important thing. So I'm German, I grew up in Hanover, or close to Hanover, a small village, terrible. And I grew up with the belief that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Yes. So I am using a toaster, and so far my toaster has been, all the toasters I've used so far have been passed on to me from someone else. I've never bought a toaster in my life. However, my toaster has recently gone upstate to a farm, to a better place. Yes. And now I need a new toaster. So what do? I don't want to go into a shop and talk to people because I'm a millennial. I don't do that. I want to do it from the comfort of my phone or my home. And I'm using a website for this. And I'm searching for new toasters, and I get to a website like this. And this is just an example because many people are like creating websites like this, especially if there's like larger marketing departments involved. You get something like this. And I come to this website looking for a toaster. And I'm like, okay, so what is this? So I look at the image that's the most prominent part of this website. And I'm like, might be a toaster. Let's find out. And then the second most prominent thing says smart, simple, beautiful, which means nothing. This could be a car, this could be a watch, this could be a phone, this could be a new Apple product, who knows? This does not say toaster to me. And it's like, it will disrupt your breakfast. I don't want my breakfast disrupted. It's the most important meal of the day. I want peace and quiet. So if you're disrupting my breakfast, get the hell out, right? So that's not great. Thermochemical food processing, that's very fancy words for making stuff hot and then eating it later on. But I'm not sure if this is a toaster. The best invention since sliced bread, this might be a pun and this might be a toaster. So this is the hot bread. I have no idea what this is, and I might look at the links now to figure out like what can I do from this point. Like this didn't help me. What else can I do on this website? Well, we have a philosophy. Now that's great, but I don't care. We have a Hotbread X10. I don't know what this Hotbread thing is. Why would I click on a Hotbread X10 and then I can join the movement? Thanks. Please keep your religion to yourself. I'm not interested. So this website is not great. This can be like the latest technology. You can use whatever framework of choice you want to use. You can server-side render this. This might load in 0.5 seconds, and it might like have a fantastic domain name or whatever. But this is crap. This is not useful. This is not helping me find a toaster. Now let's change, we don't change the design, we don't change the technology, we just change the content and we get to this. The fastest toaster. Right, I'm good here. This is the fastest toaster. This is a website about a toaster. It's the fastest toaster. Cool, that's fantastic. Never burn your toast again. A sense of safety and security. I love that for my breakfast. Get your toast faster. Nice, try toasty, make toaster face. Great. So this website is a lot better already because it helps me figure out what this is about and why would I want this. If I'm looking for a fast toaster, I'm probably here. However, I'm an engineer and I overanalyze everything. So I would like to start a spreadsheet to figure out like what does my toaster need so that I can compare toasters. But I don't even know how to start because I don't know what criteria and requirements I should put in for a good toaster. Conveniently, this website has me covered because they have a how to choose a toaster link. So if I'm not sure how to choose a toaster, they are helping me with that. And then once I know how to choose a toaster, they have other toasters as well. That's cool. But if I just want the fastest toaster now, I can just buy a toaster. Same technology, same design. It's not the design, it's not the technology, it's the content that makes the big difference. So that brings me to my most important takeaway here. SEO, whatever you do for optimizing your website and your search appearance, if your content is chocolate ice cream, then it's gonna be that. Like there's nothing that you can do to like improve this from here. So content is key, but we are not interested in the content right now. Let's assume that we have fantastic copywriters who are very, very undervalued. If your team does not hire a copywriter to get their content in, especially if you have content in what's not your mother tongue or like what you are really, really confident in, I make really weird mistakes in German because in English because English is my second language. In German, I can probably write more or less okay copy. In English, not as much. So copywriters are your friends in this. But we are making web apps. So let's focus on the technical side from now on. Cool. So I want to build something like this. I want to give people the opportunity to buy the fantastic Swiss cheese. I live in Switzerland. I have become a cheese Nazi at this point. I have opinions on cheese. We can discuss things for ages. From these cheeses, that's not cheese. That's not like discuss Emmentaler now. Anyway, so like we're gonna build a little single-page application that allows me to buy cheeses. Right? There's like the right kind of cheese over here. There's like the right cheese is the default category, and then there's other cheeses available as well. My scaffold more or less looks like this. I have a title, I have a meta description to show up in SEO, in search engine results. I have some sort of header bar, I have my main content, and then I have the navigation drawer is dismissible so that on mobile I get a nice responsive drawer navigation. That's it. And then I basically just have an API that I can query for the cheese that is available. Do I need a framework for this? No, this is a very small application. Now, there will be some framework-specific advice later on, but fundamentally everything that I'm saying applies to pretty much every framework out there. First things first, I need a template to put each cheese card in. Like basically this is the scaffold for each of these cards with the different cheeses. We have an image, we have a few headlines, we have a summary, and then we have a buy button. Cool. And now I make an API call based on which category I'm on. And in this case, I'm using the hash, so I'm having like hash routes. Very simple thing. I basically just slice off the hash symbol, and then I check if I'm on the home page. If I'm on the home page, then I set the category to Swiss as the default. If I'm not on the home page, or if I'm basically just anywhere really, I'm loading the category JSON that has the cheeses that I have available for the category that we selected. I get that JSON, and then I call a function called create cheese cards, and then I put these cards into a list. That's it. Now, how does my create cheese cards function look like? Well, it's relatively simple. I get a list of cheeses, and then for each of these cheeses, I get the template. I set the title of the template, so the header in this card will now have the name of the cheese. We have a price for the cheese. We have some image that sits there for each of these cheeses. We have some summary text that I can use to describe each of them. And then when the button is clicked, we buy that specific kind of cheese. Nothing too fancy here. And then last but not least, if I click on one of the navigation links, the hash changes, or if I'm using forward and backward in the browser navigation, the hash will change. We do the same thing that we did at the very beginning. We slice off the hash, and then we check out what category we're looking at. If we are back at the home page, then we are actually loading the Swiss category, and that's it. And now our website does what we want it to do. I can click on the wrong kinds of cheese, and then I get the wrong kinds of cheese. That's fantastic. If I click on the other things, like, yeah, cool, this works. I'm done. So now maybe I have like detail pages for each of these cheeses, and everything is great, right? So now if someone is searching for Emmentaler, they can find my fantastic cheese shop. Except that if I query what, for instance, Google or other search engines know about my website, I only get my homepage. That's not great. What's happening here? Why is none of my other pages, why is none of my other cheeses, and not even the categories are here, like nothing else, just the homepage? That's not great. Now imagine that you are actually like a large web shop that tries to compete with other web shops that are having all the product details. Like if you're searching for, I don't know, Lenovo ThinkPad, and then like every one of your competitors shows up, but you are not. That's not great, because you will be missing out on business, and business means money, and money means surviving in capitalism. Fantastic. Is it because my website might look something like this? So this is pretty much every client-side rendered single-page app in the planet. And like, if I would ask you, what is this website about? You'd be like, I don't know. We would have to execute the JavaScript to see this. And a bunch of SEOs will tell you like, oh yeah, no, Googlebot doesn't know this, and Googlebot can't actually deal with this, and oh my god, search engines can't run JavaScript. And that's the problem, they are wrong. We actually do this. Not every search engine does it, not all the search engines do it reliably, but we actually basically render JavaScript, so you won't have a problem. How does that look like? Well, every search engine has roughly the same process that they need to go through to actually show results in the end, right? I can't speak for all search engines because I don't know them all, but at least for Googlebot, I can tell you this is what we do. We have a list of URLs. We call this the crawl queue. So we know a bunch of websites already. We have their URLs, like many pages around the web are in this list. We take a URL from that list and we put it into the crawler. The crawler, amongst other things, makes an HTTP request. It makes an HTTP request, gets an HTTP response. It passes on this response. If the response is HTML, we'll pass for linked URLs. So we are looking for links, and then we take these URLs and pass them back onto the crawl queue. So we would expect, if our website has like links to all these pages, then all of these pages are discovered at this point, put in the crawl queue, and then actually crawled, and then processed. And as part of processing, we also put things in the render queue. So we take the HTML that we got, we queue that for rendering, and as resources become available, we run the renderer, which is fundamentally a headless Chromium. Now, a few people might think, oh yeah, but this is like Chrome 41 for Google, right? That's not true anymore. We are actually running an evergreen Chrome. So we are updating our Googlebot whenever there's a new stable version of Chrome, so that our Chromium is what you would be using if you would be using stable Chrome as well. Cool. So now we execute all the JavaScript. We wait until everything has finished. Now we have the full HTML, and we can process again. We're looking for links. We're passing the links back. Great. And then once we know what the website is about, because we actually looked at the HTML that was rendered, then we can figure out, oh, this website is about toasters. Okay, fantastic. Well, in this case, this website is about cheeses. And then we can put it into the index for cheese and stuff, and then people can search for cheese and then hopefully find something from our index, and you are in that index. That hasn't worked though. So this is not the problem. Client-side rendered single-page applications are fine. That's not an issue. But let's look at our URLs. So I have said that we are using hash URLs, right? And that's a bit of an issue. So this is actually not called a hash URL, this is called a fragment URL. And these fragments are standardized as to be used to navigate within a page. So you have a lot of content and you navigate within that content. They are not meant to change the content. If you were changing content, then the hash is misleading here. However, we needed this hash change event, so we needed to use the hashes. And it sounded like it's fine, and it's really easy to develop that on your local host. Like, you don't have to set up any specific server or anything. Server setup is simple that way because you're only serving the index HTML, and then you're using the hashes to actually load different content dynamically. The problem there is that crawlers are actually ignoring fragments because we don't care. We don't have to care because we just index the entire page. So all of these URLs, as far as the crawler goes, go to index.html. They all go to your homepage and then some part of the homepage. But if we index the entire homepage, then we have all of these parts. Except we don't, because you're loading different content then. So none of this is actually seen by the crawler. Or, well, the renderer even. Like, none of this is actually working because we are not extracting these URLs. That's not great. So let's change that. Instead of using hash URLs, we are just using regular URLs in our links. We have normal links, normal URLs. And we are basically doing the same thing as we did before. We remove slashes that might be in the front or in the back. We check if the category is empty. If the category is empty, then we load the Swiss category. We load Swisses for cheese. And then we do one extra step, and that's the push state down here, right? Oh, actually, let me change that real quick. That's the push state down here. Window history, push state, some state object that we can use later on. And then we get the title, and then we get the attribute of the URL where we want to go. So now we have the URL in the browser history, so I can use forward and backwards buttons, and they work properly. Even if I open my browser history, it's going to say, like, using the window title that I specify here, which category I have been on. Cool. Now my links are done, but I need an event that triggers whenever someone is navigating within the browser history. That's what the pop state event is for. We do the same thing. We look at the event state. If the event state is there, that's the object that we gave with the category. Then we can use that. If we don't, then we need to actually use the path name. We parse out from the path name what the category is, load that category, done. Not a problem. Cool, but if that would happen to you, how would you have known? Do you always have to run like a site query to figure out what we have in the index? Actually, no. There's a free tool that you can use and SEOs normally use. If you tell us that your domain is yours and you can verify that you own that specific domain, then you get like a monitoring tool like Search Console to actually monitor your entire site for free. So this will send you emails if stuff is going missing, and there's a thing called the coverage report that tells you if stuff is in the index or not. So you can actually monitor this. And this is why you want your SEOs to be your friends. If they do it for you, then you don't have to. So that's kind of nice. Search Console looks like this. It tells you how many pages do have problems. So like, why were these not indexed? You can find out by diving into that category. There might be some with warnings. 181 pages are actually properly indexed, and then like 1.39 thousand pages were not indexed, and then we can drill down into why they're not indexed. But this is pretty much the coverage report that tells you how your website is doing in terms of search. It also allows you to actually then debug these errors. So in this case, we found what we call a 404 on this page. So we said like we can't actually index 2 of the pages because you are telling us that these are not existing anymore. That might not be a problem. It might literally be that like a product has gone out of stock. That's okay, that's fine. But if this is a page where you really, really care for, it's like, oh, but this is our most important product that has just like fallen out of the index, then you probably want to figure this one out. And then the cool thing is if you think that you deployed a fix, you can click this little validate fix button and we'll actually test for you and we email you or let you know in the interface, depending on how long it takes us to actually verify that fix, if you actually fixed it or not. So we'll keep you updated if your fix actually worked. It also gives you like analytics. These are not analytics for people who are on your page. This is analytics on how your pages are performing in search results. So how often did I show up? What queries did my pages show up for? How often did people actually click on them? So this is really, really helpful to tune your content. If you're a blogger, for instance, and you see I have a blog post on, I don't know, ES modules, and then you see like you have been showing up a bazillion times for how do ES modules work, but you have only been clicked twice, then you probably want to figure out if you can change the wording in your blog post to make people more convinced that they should click on your article, that your article is the better article than the others. So this is a fantastic tool to tweak your content, but we don't care about content, but there's also testing tools embedded here. So I can put a URL from my site in, and then I see if it's on the index, if it's not on the index, why is it not in the index, and I can like do a live test that basically recrawls whenever I click the live test button to see if whatever I'm doing on deploying is actually helping and actually solving the problem. So this is really, really useful as well. It also sends you emails, so you don't have to watch this tool all the time. Let's say you make a mistake, you deploy something, and now you have like 100 pages are dropping out of the index for something, for some reason. Maybe they 404 or something like that. You'll get an email like, index coverage change detected, and then you see like a bunch of example pages that have dropped out. So that's really, really helpful. You don't have to like watch Search Console every day. I would probably check out once or twice a month what's happening in Search Console, but they email you if there's something going wrong. Now let's look at a wonderful error that keeps happening with people doing single page applications. Submitted URL seems to be a soft 404, 9 pages affected. What does that mean? What is a soft 404? Well, it sometimes manifests like this. This is a search result that should probably not be a search result. An error occurred. What's going on here? Well, if you test, you see, well, what's the problem? This is clearly an error message, so why is this showing up in search results? And then you look closer, and you look a little more closely, and you see that your server has said, this is cool, this is fine, here's some content. But the content was, oops, there's nothing here. That's not great, is it? So the problem with that is that servers in single-page application configurations are usually set up to pretty much say 200 OK to everything that they get, because then the JavaScript handles the error situation. But how can your JavaScript then tell us that this is an actual error configuration or an actual error situation that it's in? Well, one way is to set up one specific route on your server that does not give a 200. If you have a, let's say, like /not found, then you could say, like, if this URL comes in, do not serve the index.html, do serve a 404 and then use the index.html as the error page. In this case, your server responds specifically with a 404 error. And what we're doing here is like we make our API call, we check if the cheese exists. If no cheese exists in this category, then we redirect to not found. So what happens is the crawler makes an HTTP request here, it gets the HTML, we render it, the JavaScript is executed, the JavaScript redirects to a 404 page. So processing will now go like, so this page is actually just a redirect to this other page, and that page is a 404. So none of these two pages actually have content that we should put in the index. Problem solved. Alternatively, you can have a meta tag called meta robots, and you can dynamically change the content to say no index. If you're telling us no index, that means The JavaScript runs, the content of the meta tag changes to no index. We will not index this page. Problem solved. This page will not end up in the search results. Also, if you're using a JavaScript framework, there's a high chance that your search results look like this. Ta-da! If I am searching for cupcake recipes or like for easy recipe, let's say I searched for easy recipe and I get these, then this is not very compelling, is it? I wouldn't want to click on, I don't know what any of these are. It would be better to have something more specific. Like in this case, the apple pie recipe. No, I don't want to do the apple pie recipe. Birthday cupcakes, well, that's interesting. Awesome brownies, awesome, sounds great. I want brownies now. And then you click on that specific search result. So you want the title, and what we see here as blocks is basically what's called the meta description. You want that to be specific to each of your pages so that users have a better understanding of what they can expect when they click on it. Do not go with one title. Every single framework tutorial basically just goes like, yeah, we just put the title and the meta description in and then we do all the cool stuff down here. That's missing out on this opportunity because now you're going to be like on this side of the thing, right? Because everything has the same title and description, so it's not very compelling. Especially, I love when companies make this mistake, like something something corporation. We are a 100-year-old corporation. No one cares. Put something useful for the searcher in your meta description. Do not put your family history in here. How do I do this? Well, in my very, very simple single-page application, that's easy. I just set the document title and I update the meta description's content to whatever description I have for my cheeses. In this case, I could say like Swiss cheeses often. I don't know. So that's easy. But what do I do when I do not have a vanilla JavaScript application? Is that like the only thing that I can do? No. React, for instance, has the React Helmet component or library that you can pull in. I think it's maintained by the NFL, actually, which is pretty cool. Raiders. Anyway, giving that away. You can use the Helmet component then to use your properties from your component in the render function and render whatever title you need to be rendered and whatever meta description you want for this specific page. So let's say this is a product page, you can use the product name and then the product description as the title and description here, and that way you have specific search results per product. Angular has that as well, it has it even built in. It's called the meta and title services. You use them pretty much the same way. Within your components somewhere, you are basically using properties to have a descriptive title and helpful description. Vue.js has an additional package as well, it's Vue-meta. Vue-meta gives you this additional method that you can use in your component, the meta info method, where you can specify the title and all sorts of meta tags. That's it. You install it, you put it into your components, done. You use the properties, computed properties, whatever you need. That's it. If you want to learn, oh, this is cut off. That's fine. If you want to learn more about this, we have a YouTube series of 8 episodes right now on YouTube, Google Webmasters. It's fine. You know what? Let's edit this real quick. That's like super annoying. What happened here, Google Webma? Interesting choice. Hey, look at that. The text is there. Ugh, technology, right? Anyway, Google Webmasters has this fantastic JavaScript SEO series. We are filming a second season later this year, so it will come out next year probably. Highly recommend checking it out. It has a bunch more information than I could fit into this talk. Also, you might want to have some stuff that doesn't go into your search results. You might want to save on some of the things, right? Let's say I have a really, really stupid high school photo of myself on like martinsplitt.com/private/highschoolphoto.html, and it's like an entire HTML page where I'm like lamenting how terrible I looked. Or look, really. Anyway, so you don't want that to show up, so I put something into my robots.txt. The robots.txt controls how robots, and Googlebot is a robot, see it. In this case, we would go to like someone links to /private/highschool.html on my website. Googlebot gets that in the crawling phase, right? It takes this URL, puts it into the crawler. The crawler goes like, my name is Googlebot. I'm not allowed anything under private. This is under private. I'm not making this request. I'm done here. Great. So that means that it doesn't show up in the index. Wrong. That's not how that works. What's going to happen here is we cannot crawl this, so we cannot make the HTTP request. But someone else told us, this is Martin Splitt's ridiculous high school photo. So even though we don't know if that's actually true or how good the page is that this other person linked, we will still put it in the index because we might not have any other results. And then before we show nothing, we might show a result where we're not super sure about. So it might still show up in search results even though I can't crawl it. If you want something to be not indexed, then you have another mechanism. You can either use an HTTP header, so you can respond with xrobots tag no index, or you can put a meta tag on your website called the robots meta tag and say like, do not index this. Now what happens if I put this website that I don't want to show up in the index on robots.txt and put the no index here? Well, we can't make an HTTP request, so we'll never see this header or this meta tag. If you don't want something in the index, do not block it in robots.txt, block it here. Well then, what's robots.txt good for? I can tell you what it's good for. If you have JavaScript libraries that are optional and you don't think crawlers should request, like you have this little customer service chat box, or you have like some random libraries that do some ads and stuff, and you don't want that to actually consume bandwidth when Googlebot crawls it, because we're actually like giving you a crawl budget. We can only make so many requests, and then we like have to wait, and then we have to come back later. For each website. So if you don't want us to waste requests on some random tracking scripts or some analytics or some customer service blip blobs that we don't need in indexing, then you can block them in the robots.txt, and then that's that. So that's what this is for. It reduces the resource usage. Be very, very careful with robots.txt. If you want something out of the index, use the no index mechanism. If you have multiple URLs pointing to the same content, so let's say I have a website where I can rate dogs, and that's fantastic. Each dog has a profile. In this case, /dog Laika is the profile of the dog Laika, but she right now is the top rated dog, so she's also under /top dog. We're gonna crawl both of these, and then we're gonna figure out, hold on, one of them is the same as the other, so we have to throw, or we will throw one away and we keep the other. But which one do we keep? Now, as a human, I can say like, wow, top dog might actually change, so I will probably not keep that one. I should keep the dog Laika one. But we don't know this, right? Especially if it's even more complicated. If you, let's say, like have 20 different domains with slightly different content, and then some of the pages are the same, we wouldn't know which one to keep and show people searching for stuff. So we make a decision based on a bunch of factors, but we fundamentally have to roll a dice. So that's not great. Conveniently, you have a mechanism to tell us what you think should be canonical. In this case, I definitely want the dog /Laika because that's the stable URL for the dog named Laika. Top dog might change too frequently to be like a useful thing. Or maybe I want it indexed differently or whatever, I don't know. But this is basically how you signal to us, hey, I would prefer if you would use this URL, right? However, people get that wrong, and then we have to choose a different one. That does happen. Especially, I'm saying that specifically here because I'm in Germany, and I know that happens to German companies quite often. If you're doing business in Austria, Germany, and Switzerland, let's take the example for Germany and Switzerland. Switzerland has a different currency, and it's probably more expensive, because let's face it, everything in Switzerland is more expensive. So you have the same content, but you have small differences, in this case the currency and the price. But if it's a huge page with lots of details and that's the only difference, then we'll be like, this is the same page. And you might say, well, the .ch, example.ch/this product and example.de/this product are both canonical because one is for DE and one is for CH, and they are different, so they are like canonical for their countries. And we disagree because we are like, no, that's cool, but they are fundamentally the same page, so you have to choose one, not two or three, if Austria is in the mix, or maybe Luxembourg or something, or like, I don't know, Liechtenstein, for that matter. Liechtenstein doesn't even have an army, did you know that? They're like renting out Swiss army to, it's ridiculous. And the Swiss army accidentally like shot a forest on fire in Liechtenstein and then had to like officially apologize. This is random shit. Anyway, but the Swiss army is hilarious anyways. There was like a situation where a plane was rerouted and it was a plane from Ethiopia and the pilots wanted to seek asylum in Geneva. So they're like, How about we just pretend that we are being like hijacked, and then we just like land in Geneva because our hijackers want that, and then we just like get off the plane, and then we just like apply for refugee status in Switzerland because why not? And fighter planes of the country that the plane is in the airspace of have to escort. So it was like at 4 a.m. in the morning, and the Italian ones were like, okay, they're approaching Swiss airspace. Let's get the Swiss Air Force in. And they called the Swiss Air Force, and they got the voicemail saying that it's out of office hours. It's like, please call again at 8 a.m. And they're like, oh, okay, interesting. Really bad timing because they wanted to like get new fighter planes, and then people are like, you don't need a new fighter plane, you just need longer office hours, people. Like, screw you. Fun stories. I have more of these stories. Anyway, where was I? Right, yeah, so yeah, you were pretending that you have two different canonicals, and we're like, no, you don't. But however, if you tell us that one is the Swiss German version and the other one is the German version using a mechanism called hreflang, then we would still probably keep the .ch one and show that to searchers in Switzerland or whoever has like configured Swiss German as, why would you do that? It's configured Swiss German as the browser language. You can do that, and then we would keep that switch available because it's hreflang and it's like a localized version. But we would have to pick one canonical still. And if you give us misleading information, we're just gonna pick one for you. That can be confusing though, and I'm sorry for that. But that's life. Right. Let me wrap up with some tips and tricks. So first things first, do not assume Googlebot persists any data. We do cache stuff, but we do not store cookies across page loads. We do not store IndexedDB, local storage. None of that gets actually stored across page loads. So every Googlebot visit is as if the user is there the first time. Because this is what searchers will experience as well, right? They have probably never been to your website, so they will click on that link and go there as a first-time visitor. That's why Googlebot behaves that way. Even though we are following links, we're not really clicking on anything on your site. We are just following links. So we are basically just taking the links, copy and pasting them into a new tab, if you wish, right? We're not actually sharing state across different visits from Googlebot. Do not rely on anything to be there, and also handle errors. So you want to do feature detection, but you also want to prepare for error conditions. To give you an example, if you are requesting, I don't know, push notification access, the user might say no, and Googlebot will always say no to that request. So we support that feature, but we do not actually allow you to do like whatever logic you need to execute. So if all your content loading logic depends on, let's say, geolocation, you will not get that. We'll reject that request. Be careful with this. Also, if you can, use server-side rendering because it usually gives you a better user experience. Oftentimes, so this is the dog rating website that I talked about, and the most important metric for me as a user is time to first doggo. When can I look at the first dog? And this is much, much better here. This is the same framework, same code base. It's just like server-side rendered here and client-side rendered here. Each of these snapshots is like 2 seconds on a slow mobile phone with a slow connection. So like, God, you just stole 4 seconds of my life, and 4 seconds of doggos is like worth a lifetime, so don't do that. Server-side rendering is fantastic also because some crawlers literally just don't understand JavaScript, and in that case you are safe because that can't break them. There's another fantastic tool that I use when I develop stuff because it's so easy and helpful. It's called the mobile-friendly test. You just plug any URL in. In this case, I have a local development server, so I'm using ngrok to proxy this outside so that I can see it in this tool. The mobile-friendly test does what the name suggests. It tells you if the page is mobile-friendly. Duh. But it also shows you a screenshot of the above the fold content. So you can see like if this is blank, that probably means you're in trouble. Also, if you want to see if some content is in there, you can search the rendered HTML. This is the HTML that Googlebot would have seen. So you can search in that and see like if the content that you hope is dynamically rendered from your JavaScript is actually there. If it's not, then you want to investigate why. You can investigate why because you get actually then error console. So not only do we show you how the network stuff went, as in like, was this disallowed by robots.txt or was there a problem loading it? But also we literally give you like, there's an uncode type error. It's like undefined is not a function and it's in this particular line, and you even get the stack trace. So you can actually debug problems right in this tool, which is quite cool. So g.co/mobile-friendly is your friend. We have more resources. I can't share the slides. I'm not sure if it's going to be recorded, so I highly appreciate it if you would just take a picture of this. I'll tweet that link list as well, just in case. But this is pretty much fantastic resources for you. The first one is the JavaScript SEO video series that I said, when more episodes are coming. And please ask me questions, because that inspires me to do more episodes. We have a bunch of guides that are really, really helpful. We have a troubleshooter for JavaScript problems. If you encounter a JavaScript problem that isn't on that list, please let me know, because I would love to hear what we are missing so that we can add it. We have a few code labs that walk you through a bunch of stuff. We have a YouTube channel and a blog. And we're also on Twitter. I forgot the Twitter link for some reason. It's Google WMC, like Webmaster Central in short. But you find that link on YouTube and Webmaster's Google blog as well. Cool. Thank you very much. That's all I've got.